In today's video, we'll be covering a book that has sold millions of copies worldwide. It is one of the highest selling books ever. And I'm sure anyone who has actually absorbed what the author talked about has made better friends, has made more friends, and has improved the quality of their current relationships manifold. Let's get into it. Hello, good people of the internet. Welcome to another video in the Unlearning Playground Book Club by Chetan Naran. Today, we are covering a very important book. This is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Published sometime in 1930s, I think. The principles that this author has talked about in this book, I think they are relevant even to this day and age, and it will be relevant till human beings are alive. These are so fundamental to how we understand the world, how we perceive our relationships with other people and with ourselves. And I think if you were to consume just one book, just one self improvement book to improve your people skills, both when it comes to your personal relationships and professional relationships, and also those casual encounters you have with people who maybe do not really matter to you as such, but you still want those interactions to be good, let's say, this is the book you should consider reading. And he has not just written this book in a bland non-fiction book kind of a manner where it just writing things down. He has given real life examples from people that you would want to hear about: businessmen, sports people, journalists, authors for that matter, and his own life as well. He talks about so many varied applications of the principles that he puts forward in this book, that I personally love the way he has structured the book. And what's more, it's a small book, it's only 260 odd pages, and I can guarantee that if you apply these principles that he's talked about in your life, it will improve your relationships manifold: personal, professional, casual, all of them. So, the way today's video will be structured will be, I will talk about a few learnings and unlearnings I had via this book, firstly, and then towards the end of this video, I will talk about one facet of this book that I do not like. If you are interested in that directly, you can check it out from the chapters and jump to that section directly. Otherwise, let's get started. Learning number one from this book is something I wish someone had told me when I started speaking, and that is remember names. This book tells me that a person's name is the most important, the most sweetest sound to that person in any language. So make sure that when you're addressing someone, you remember their name and you address them by their name, and not just those general salutations of bro, dude, bhai, etc. I mean, of course, you can use them in a conversation, but make sure that you remember the person's name. Make sure you let the person know that you remember their name, that that person is important enough for you to remember their name. That is important. Learning number two is perhaps the most important one when it comes to conversations, and that is be a good listener. Make sure that when you are talking to someone, when you're conversing with someone, you pay genuine interest, you pay genuine attention to what the other person is saying. You know, we've all been in conversations where we feel as if we're not even needed in the conversation, as if the other person is not really listening to what we are saying, but rather is just waiting for us to shut up so that he or she can speak their mind again. Do not be that person for anyone in a conversation. If you want to be a good conversationalist, be a good listener. If you want to be interesting, be interested in the other person. Let the other person speak. The third learning is about arguments, and that is you cannot win an argument. The only way to get the best out of an argument is to avoid it. And by this, it's not meant that you should avoid discussions completely. But what it means is when a discussion moves into an argument, try to be out of it as soon as possible. Do not try to keep convincing someone who's already into an argument with you, because a person convinced against his or her will to do something that he or she didn't really want to do in an argument is a person not convinced at all. So it is absolutely fruitless after you have after the discussion has moved into an argument. It's fruitless to keep going at it. Come out of the argument and come out of it maybe with a genuine promise of thinking over it at a later point of time when the tempers have flared down. The next learning that I would talk about from this book is what applies especially when you are in a position of power, which is when you are a manager, maybe a teacher, maybe a parent for that matter. And that is, criticizing never helps. Do not criticize people. Now, this does not mean you should not give feedbacks to people, but you can truly say about yourself when you're coming into any situation, whether you're coming from a position of giving a feedback or whether you're coming from a position of giving a criticism. And it matters. The difference between the two really, really matters. Because as much as we like to think that people are creatures of logic, almost every one of us is driven by vanity, pride, and ego. And therefore, in any situation, if you come from the point of view of criticizing that person's position or opinions or whatever it is that he or she did, especially in front of other people, all that will do is the person would become defensive of their position. And you would then see there to be this amazingly translucent or even opaque mental blocker that will prevent this person from seeing any value in what you are really communicating. So even if it was a feedback, it would get interpreted as criticism, and you will not get anywhere with that person. So whenever you come into such a situation, especially when you're in a position of power, which is, like I said, if you're a manager, a teacher, a parent, or whatever, in such a position, always try to see what you're about to say in a situation, how it will be interpreted, whether it will be interpreted in the form of a feedback or a criticism, and always choose the latter. Always try to come from a position of giving a feedback rather than a criticism. Learning number five is actually an old Chinese proverb, which goes something like this: a man without a smile must not open a shop. Makes you chuckle, doesn't it? But it's so true. The surest way to get someone disinterested in what you're about to say or what you're about to sell or what you're about to do is to sound disinterested yourself. So we all like to be around positive people. We know that. We like to be around people who can manage a smile and additionally who can make us smile too. So if you can, make sure that you sound interested, make sure that you manage a smile. Again, not a fake one, but a genuine one. That always helps. Learning number six is again something that is so fundamentally helpful in all of our relationships, and that is appreciate a person. Genuinely appreciate a person. When, whenever, wherever you can, whenever you find an opportunity, do not let go of it and appreciate, send out a genuine appreciation to that person. At any rate, remember that if you want to get something done from someone, whether that is your partner, your child, your parents, your managers, your employees, whoever, appreciations always work better than rebukes. So keep that in mind and send out a genuine appreciation whenever you can. And by that, I do not mean flattery. Anyone with a basic level of discernment can filter out flattery from genuine appreciation. So make sure you're genuine in your appreciation and give it out the moment you can. On that note, this is your moment to show genuine appreciation to me. If you're liking this video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And make sure you share this with your friends and family after the end of the video. Let's keep going. Learning number seven is something that I find particularly missing in a lot of conversations that I see happening around me throughout the day. And that is, think from the other person's point of view. If you wish to get anywhere with someone, pause for a moment, think about the situation from that person's point of view, and then act. For example, if you wish to sell anything to anyone, talking about or selling from the point of view of how the product seems good to you might get it across with some people, but for the majority of us, if you sell them what they want to know, what they can get out of your product, that does most of the selling anyway. And therefore, it's very important in any conversation that you have to think and act with regards to what the other person's point of view is. The eighth and final learning that we'll be talking about today from this book is almost an end all be all statement, and that is, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. I think it's self explanatory. How, when, where, all the time, everywhere. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Be courteous. Make sure you treat people with importance. Make sure you give out genuine appreciation whenever you can. Make sure you use phrases such as sorry, thank you, could you please, thanks a lot, etc. Be courteous. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And now on to the section of why I do not like this book. I think this is very tricky because I personally love this book. But one thing that I would call out is that this book may make you a bit of a goody two shoes, may make you a bit of a person who almost pretends to be a nice person in front of others to get things done from them. And while this is absolutely not the goal of this book, I think Dale Carnegie, the author, also recognized this when he was writing the book, because you can find references to this in various sections of the book. For example, when he talks about this principle of giving genuine appreciation to people, he specifically calls out to not lead this to flattery. He calls out that flattery and genuine appreciation are almost two distinct ends of the spectrum, and he wants you to lie here. He wants you to be at the genuine appreciation end of that spectrum. And therefore, I think this is something that I would want to call out too. If you end up picking up this book, which I think you should, make sure that this does not make you into a pretentious goody two shoes. And another point that I would say in favor of disliking this book is that books such as this can very easily be interpreted as if the author is telling you to not confront someone, to not correct someone in case he or she is wrong. As if the author is telling you that it's almost fruitless to try and change another person, and therefore you should not try at all. I think I do not interpret this book in this manner. I think the way I interpret this book is that it gives you the tactics to actually how you can go about having that conversation, how you can go about actually trying to get the other person towards a result that you genuinely feel is better for them. And I think that is a pretty decent way of interpreting this book. Live and let live is a philosophy that almost all of us are practicing anyway. I mean, if I find a stranger smoking on a road somewhere, it's not as if I'm going to stop and ask that person to stop smoking. So in that manner, I am practicing live and let live. But what if that person is my own son? What if she is my own niece? What if that is my own parent? Do you really think I should be practicing live and let live even in that scenario? Of course, I'll have to, but I'll at least try. And that is where books such as this should help you. Not in convincing you that you should not go ahead and confront or correct that person, but rather how you should go about confronting and correcting that person. So, read this book, pick out all the different principles that you can from it, but also use your discretion. Modesty is not always the highest form of morality. Well, okay then, that's about it for today's video. I hope you found this useful. Make sure you check out more of the content that I put out on my YouTube channel, my podcast, my Ask a Human Not an AI series, my Unlearning Playground book club, and I'll see you in the playground the next time. Until next time, peace out.